Okay, folks, how we doing? Rich Fantastic with you. Today is Saturday, October 23rd, and of course, we are doing our game picks for now week 3 of the NFL season, and we are recording, as always, audio for Get Live Radio. Our first game up is a London game, so it's starting at 9:30 in the morning. The Jacksonville Jaguars are listed as the home team at 1-1. The Baltimore Ravens are 2-0. Injuries for the quote-unquote visiting Ravens. The questionables: Michael Campanaro, wide receiver; Anthony Levine, senior, cornerback; Chris Matthews, wide receiver; Zadarius Smith, linebacker; Jalen Hill, a cornerback, is out. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, Jalen Strong, a wide receiver; Lorante McCray, a linebacker, are out. Chad Henne, backup quarterback; Jalen Ramsey, cornerback; Cam Robinson, offensive tackle, are listed as questionable. I don't like the London games. I've made that clear. It's a situation where you're traveling, especially this early in the season. You're still trying to get your feet under you. I think the NFL is looking for a cash grab with these, and I don't like it. And it's one of the reasons why I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be able to come away with the victory in this game. Baltimore, you would have to say, is the superior team, though I don't think the gap is as wide as people may expect. Blake Bortles clearly has to get back to that week 1 form where they're not expecting him to throw a lot. He only threw 21 passes the first week, threw 33 the second week, had his interceptions in the second week, so they rely a lot on him in that regard. He does have a tough secondary to go against, so I think that will actually make Jacksonville adjust their game plan accordingly to where they're not already asking them to do too much, and they'll be successful in this game. Leonard Fournette has got to get above that 4 yards per carry average. He's under it. He's got 140 yards on 40 carries, so they're going to rely on him a lot in this game, and they're going to need him. Blake Bortles has got to keep the turnovers down, and it's really coming down to the fact that it's a travel to London across, the pond, as they would say, early in the season, and I think for those reasons, Jacksonville is going to come away with a victory. I'm expecting a sloppy game. We've already seen some sloppy play thus far this season, so you got to look at it that way. And I think the Jaguars are going to come away with a 20-16 victory over the Baltimore Ravens. Next up, the Denver Broncos at 2-0 are traveling to Buffalo to play the Bills, who are 1-1. The Broncos have yet to play a road game. The Bills are 1-0 at home. Injuries for the visiting Broncos: questionables: Devontae Booker, running back; Garrett Bowles, offensive tackle; Benny Fowler III, wide receiver; Brandon Langley, cornerback, is out. And it's good to see Garrett Bowles at least listed as questionable. When I talked about the injury report for my YouTube on Tuesday, I said when you watch this game and you saw him go down, it looked like, by his reaction, it could have been career-ending. So that's good news in that regard. Whether he plays or not, certainly being questionable is a good thing. For the Buffalo Bills, all listed as out: Marcel Darius, defensive tackle; Jarrell Worthy, defensive tackle; and Cordy Glenn, the offensive tackle. Immediately looking at those defensive tackle injuries, Marcel Darius is one of the better ones in the league. It's going to be a situation where you're not getting pressure on Trevor Siemian. We saw what he did last week without any pressure. Buffalo, really a test for them if they're going to be the team that can possibly sneak in the wild card. I don't have them doing it. They would have to find a way to win these games, and frankly, the Buffalo Bills of the recent years and going all the way back 17 years where they haven't been in the playoffs, but certainly in the Tyrod Taylor era, regardless of who the coach is, Rex Ryan, Doug Marrone, or now their coach, it's a situation where you're just not looking at it, McDermott being their coach now, where you're not looking at it as a situation where they've shown any tendencies to win these sorts of games. So it's a situation where you'd have to pick Denver, especially looking the way they have off of the Cowboys' victory last week. You worry a bit. That's only a 2-hour difference in time zones from Denver to Buffalo, but traveling, of course, the west to east, the 3-hour difference is something that I really look at. I expect the 2-hour difference to be something that could work in the Buffalo Bills' favor. I don't see Tyrod Taylor making the plays necessary to win this game. I expect Trevor Siemian to continue on a roll and Denver to be able to run the ball even if Devontae Booker can't go. And you have Garrett Bowles, who's questionable, because Buffalo is without 2 defensive tackles. So I like the Denver Broncos coming away with the victory 24-17 as the Buffalo Bills find a way to lose yet another close game against the team that they really would have to beat if they want to take the next step in their development. The Pittsburgh Steelers at 2-0, 1-0 on the road, travel to Chicago to play the Bears, who are 0-2, 0-1 at home. Injuries first for the visiting Pittsburgh Steelers. You have 2 out, TJ Watt, linebacker, Marcus Gilbert, offensive tackle, Stephon Tuitt, defensive end. Chicago is listing no injuries. Interesting game with this one. Chicago, as we talked about, the reason I gave them a shot in that Week 1 game against the Atlanta Falcons, and they were in it, was because you're trying to start under a new era. In this case, let's see if Mitchell Trubisky gets some time in this game. I'm expecting Mike Glennon to start, but if he struggles, you might just put Mitchell Trubisky in there at this point, especially 0-2 with a chance for the season to get away from you. And once the season gets away from the Chicago Bears, which I expect it will sooner rather than later, then you would see Mitchell Trubisky. But with that being said, Pittsburgh has not looked sharp on all phases. They are 2-0, but when Le'Veon Bell hasn't had a good game, that's when Antonio Brown has had a great game. Antonio Brown, relatively pedestrian last week, though his numbers were still very good for any other wide receiver outside of the Odell Beckham Jr.'s and Julio Jones. They weren't up to the Antonio Brown standard, which are frankly ridiculous numbers when you look at it. So that inconsistency on offense is something that I'm going to look at, and I expect Chicago to again be really tough in this game. Hey, they're 0-2, again, kind of a start over, trying to get it together, but I see them falling short as they did against the Atlanta Falcons. I like 24-21 in favor of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger is going to have to make plays in this one in order to win. It's not going to be a cakewalk, even though it may look that way on paper. The Atlanta Falcons 2-0, 1-0 on the road, travel to Detroit, who is also 2-0. They are 1-0 at home. Injuries for the visiting Falcons. 3 listed as out. Vic Beasley Jr., the linebacker, pass rushing linebacker. Keep an eye on that. Ryan Schrader, the offensive tackle. And Terron Ward, the running back. Courtney Upshaw, defensive tackle, is questionable. For the Detroit Lions, Jared Davis, their good rookie linebacker, is out. Tavon Wilson, safety, is out. The questionables, Ezekiel Ansah, defensive end, Joe Dahl, guard, Travis Swanson, center. So you have some key injuries on both sides of the ball. Very interesting game. Is Detroit ready to show that they are a legit serious contender? I had them in the playoffs, a possible deep playoff run team. It's really tough to tell this early in the season, win or lose. But certainly they would take a step in that direction if they were able to beat the Atlanta Falcons here. The Atlanta Falcons without Vic Beasley Jr., that should give them time to keep Matt Stafford upright to find his targets. Again, as we've said, and it'll be the story when I discuss the Detroit Lions all season, the quantity over quality. And when you have that, certainly your quarterback needs time to go through his progressions. Matt Stafford is playing very well this year, only 18 incompletions on 62 passes, 6 touchdowns to 1 interception. On the other hand, Matt Ryan is playing very well, but he only has 2 touchdowns thus far this season. So Atlanta's offense, even though they were very good and found their running game against the Green Bay Packers, the Packers certainly have some question marks on defense. I don't think it's all gelled together for the Packers. Hasn't necessarily clicked on all cylinders in the passing game, so Detroit certainly has a shot. Now, Ryan Schrader being out, he's a very good offensive tackle. He is on the right side of the ball, however. Will Detroit move Ezekiel Ansah to that side to try to get pass rush if he is going? Again, Ezekiel Ansah is listed as questionable. I usually expect questionables to go. So let's see if that is part of the game plan for the Detroit Lions. I'm going to pick Detroit the way I've been riding them. I'm going to keep going with it. I have a lot riding on the Lions thus far this season. I like what they've done. This could be a big statement victory for them. Certainly Jim Caldwell without the contract next year. They're playing for themselves basically and trying to establish this season. So let's keep an eye on that. Expect a relatively high scoring game, but not quite in the shootout range where you just have the teams going up and down the field. I expect stops at times. I expect Ezekiel Ansah to get pressure. I'm expecting him to line up over the right tackle instead of the left tackle to be able to force pressure. And I think Matt Stafford, without Vic Beasley Jr. getting pressure on him, he's going to be out for a while, is going to be able to find his targets and get the job done. I like 30-27, the Detroit Lions over the Atlanta Falcons. All right, we will be back in just a little bit to continue on with the game picks for Week 3 now of the NFL season. Be sure to stay tuned. Thank you.